Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, Evelyn. Thank you so much, GBH. Thank you to the staff. Thank you to everybody who's here in the live audience with us. I'm gonna be reading back and forth from a script, but I'm also gonna be going off of script. Y'all know how I do. Yes, wow. What a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Isn't the sun just shining bright on all of us outside? Look, nobody clapped. Do you see that? First, I want to welcome everybody to Outspoken Saturdays here at the Boston Public Library in the Newsfeed Cafe. My name is, yes, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. My name is Amanda Shea. As you heard, I am an artist, educator, publicist for Brandy Blaze. I'm also a mentor, and I'm an artivist, but I'm also a mother. No claps for the moms? Like, we need moms. We have 8 young poets today who have been working hard on meaningful poems for you. For those who are not familiar with spoken word poetry, it is a form of performance art in which speakers express themselves verbally on a specific topic. And today's subject is What Matters to You, which is GBH's new tagline. We look up to those who contribute to the community and to the art, and it is also National Poetry Month. So I would love to introduce my friend, colleague, community activist, mentor, just an amazing, amazing being, Letta Neely, to share her journey. Besides being an earthling, Letta is Black, queer, a womanist, a parent, and an artist. In addition to serving as the design lead for DS4SI's Design Gym, she is the co-director of Fort Point Theater Channel and the vice president of programs at Apprentice Learning. She believes in the interconnectedness of both the struggle and the liberation. Please put your hands together for Letta Neely.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody.
Welcome, welcome, Letta. I'm just gonna put this to the side because you, first and foremost, I wanna say thank you so much for your contribution to our community, to the artists, to your family, to all the work that you do. Please know that we need you. You are important, and we are celebrating you every single day. So I am just honored to have this conversation with you. Floored by everything that you do. It is very hard for balance. But for those who don't know you and don't know your journey, could you please just tell us a little bit about your background and what inspired you to do this work?
My background, let's see. I was born a little Black girl in Indiana. Oh, no.
Closer to the mic,
yes,
my love.
I was born a little Black girl in Indiana. I was premature, about 3 months. My mother likes to say that it was time to come out early, and I was ready. And I lived in, it's slightly important to me, right? I lived in an incubator for several months. And when I came home, my mother sang to me every day, right? Before I came home, she sang Marvin Gaye to me every day, and upon waking every day, she gave us Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. So I am steeped in Black people. I am steeped in Africanist motifs. I am steeped in connection and liberation. And my journey from Indiana to Boston was, let's see. In the beginning, I was bused, right, from our neighborhood in Indiana. And what I remember is that every day from our school that was right down the street, I got to get a recorder, right, a video projector, and the film strip from our library. So I love libraries. That's the first thing, right? And I would go every day, and I would get this. And I'm older now, so maybe y'all don't know this, but there was a projector, and you took a projector and a tape recorder home with you. And when it said beep, then you move the projector forward, right? And I did that every day. And then we got bused, and they took our whole neighborhood. They lifted our whole neighborhood up, and they transplanted us every morning at like 6:30 in the morning to go to Decatur Township in Indiana. And I marked that as the beginning of one of our ends, right? Because it disconnected our neighborhood from ourselves, from each other, right? And as much as they tried to tell us that it was better for us to be going to this particular township school, for me, I always knew it wasn't better because I could not go to the library and get my projector and my tape recorder. And gotta tell you, that still hurts. You know, life went on. I made some friends. Quite frankly, you know, it was Decatur Township. We were met by the Klan on our first days out there. Quiet story about Indiana that most people don't know is that in Martinsville, Indiana, which was right next to Decatur Township, the Klan actually had a stronghold for a very long time. And the only reason they stopped having the stronghold is because some of the Grand Dragon, or the head, you know, whatever he was, did something horrible to one of the women, one of the white women, and got caught for it. So they all left their membership, but they kept their mindset, which means that they still were not welcoming, right? And so that was, you know, where I grew up, right? In my neighborhood, transplanted by bus to Decatur Township. And what I can say is the friends that I made, if they were real friends, like the white friends, right, I still have those friends today, right? And we all took a risk together, which taught me about taking risk and love and liberation, right? We went through a lot to be connected to each other. After Decatur Township, I went to Indiana University for a little while. I was broke. My family did not have a lot of money. I sold my plasma. I had got good grades, whatever that means. I was always a good student in the beginning, and then I sold so much plasma, and I worked a couple jobs, and then I got straight A's the first semester and straight F's the next semester, and then I left, right? I had grown up in like I said, a black power household, and my father's rule was that if you could reach the book, you could read the book, right? And so, you know, y'all know about milk cartons, you know, milk crates, right? So like I got crates, and I would climb on those crates, and I would reach the books. My father, we would take books. My mother and my father, they would get books from all kinds of places. Never a bookstore because we couldn't afford it, right? But from church sales and yard sales and anybody giving them away. So we had a library in our house, right? And I grew up reading, and I love the alphabet, and that's my story.
Thank you. That was the first question. Yeah, thank you so much. Wow. First of all, that was stories that I've never heard, ever. So thank you for sharing that. My next question to you would probably be, now that I know a little bit about your background and the migration, I can only imagine how much that influences your art. What poetry do you write? Like, what's your process on how you approach writing it? And where does it derive from?
I think essentially it derives from being able to be in the library of my family's house, you know, like I said, and I know the power of words. I absolutely love, like I said, the alphabet. We had a typewriter in our house, and it was a manual, right? And so I would also sit on we had telephone books. I don't know if y'all remember those either, but the white pages and the yellow pages, and I would sit on the telephone books, and I would type out newsletters, like the Black Newsletter was called, right, to the family, and I would sell that, right? Where it starts for me, I believe, is that I believe my values, right? I believe in liberation first. I believe in authenticity, and I believe in connection. And words have always been able to help me find that, right? When the world did not. Somehow the books that we found, that my family found, like, you know, they did that. Like, we had Black history books, right? So when they weren't teaching us Black history in schools, as they still struggle to do in the economic system now, right? When they were teaching us Latinx history, right, we had those books. Now, what we did not have in our household was books that were about strong women, right? And that's, you know, my parents are amazing, and they also grew up in this jacked up system, right? And so my father had some different ideas about what women should be. But because he had taught me what black people could and should be, right, our birthright of excellence, I just, I let that jump over into like what it meant to be a woman, to what it meant to be queer, to what it meant to be human. So my process, I'm jumping around a little bit, I'm sorry. My process is that I've always been an early riser. I told you I was born premature. I get up every morning at 5 o'clock and I write for about an hour. And then I have my tea or my coffee. Actually, let me be real. I have my coffee and it's serious coffee. And then my daughter and her fiance get up. My daughter is a magnificent being, and she has some different, I don't want to, they're not special. They're normal to her. They are different needs. She is called to be a different type of being in this world. Everybody has a calling. Hers is to be just a radical, incredible kid. But the day starts off with us all together, right? And with my partner, and then everybody leaves the house, and I get I have my hour and a half to myself, and then at night I wrap it up and write again.
So you're writing every single day.
I am, and it's because I believe, I remember along the trajectory of my life, right, being stopped up, not being able to get things out, feeling like it was like I had these things to say and I couldn't do it, and my life was feeling toxic. And so what I decided to do, this writing at 5 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't mean that there's a masterpiece that comes out at 5 in the morning, right? Or even at night. It means that I'm priming the pump so that when the spirit hits, right, I don't have to fight with the spirit or fight with my ego or fight with like time or anything like that, right? The spirit, like the pump is primed so that the energy can flow through better. And that's for me,
I love that you said that because I'm reading a book called The Artist's Way.
Yes.
And they start with that exact sentiment where it's this ideology of writing as soon as you wake up. It gets all of like that, the dreams, any communication, anything that was processed while you were sleeping out, so that when you are ready to write the masterpiece, you are able to have that communication to spirit, be clear with no distractions. And I absolutely love that. Thank you for saying that, because I also write, but I do not write every single day.
Strangely that you said that. That's where I got that from, right? That book, right? Morning Pages.
Morning Pages. Morning Pages. That's exactly what. So you've read The Artist's Way. It's definitely a recommended book for all artists, all poets out there who have not read it. Please, it's The Artist's Way. I forget the author right off the top of my head, but it is The Artist's Way. You can Google it and get it. Thank you so much for talking about that. I think that's super important for us to know what the process is, because everybody's process is different. How do you juggle being a playwright, a performer, a poet, a mother, a teacher, an anti-racist, and queer activist?
I refuse to juggle. And again, because of my experience when juggling, right? When I tried to juggle all of those things, it made me disparate from myself. When I tried to there are multiple parts of my identity, but there are not multiple identities, right?
Say that.
And I think it's very dangerous when we walk in the world. And again, speaking from my experience, right? I can't speak for anyone else, but when I walk in the world and I have this piece that's a mother for these folks and a lesbian for these folks, right? And the VP of programs for some other people or whatever, right? Then my core values can get separated and I can start to people please, right? And for me, when I start to people please, I start to do dangerous things to myself and my being, which include essentially not breathing well, right? And all of you possibly know that when you don't breathe well, other things come into play for you, right? That tear you down. And I don't want to be torn down anymore. I decided a long time ago that I am black, I am woman, I am a lesbian, right? And this particular world, one can be massacred, assassinated for any one of those things at any given time. So if that is true, then let me just be me all day, right? Come what may, let's see. You know.
Unapologetically at that.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Oh, yeah.
Do you believe that your life imitates art, or does your art imitate your life?
I'm going to try to answer that in this way. In many indigenous cultures, there are utensils that are made, vases, right, bowls, plates, and the purpose of those things is whatever the purpose is. So if it's a vase, it's to hold water, right? But it's always beautiful, right? So I don't know the answer to that question, but I seek to make my insides match my outsides, you know.
I hope everybody is tuning in and hearing these gems. I have so many prompts now just based off of what you said, Letta. Thank you so much. I find for me, like, art imitating life, it's really life imitating art because everything is beautiful and you can find creation and beauty in everything. So my next question is, do you have any advice for young people trying to get into just being authentically themselves and being an artist?
I have a couple. Thank you for asking. First of all, I'm very humbled that you would ask me such a thing. You know, the first one is to read other people, to see other art, right? To never, ever, ever forget that you are divine and that you are one of many divine people, right? So to stay humble but stay great at the same time, right? If you are an artist, my advice is for you to recognize that it is a responsibility, it is a calling, right? And that there's work that we have to put into it, that we have messages that we are given to share, and we have talent and skills that we are supposed to hone as we go along. Never ever think that you have made it, because we haven't. The journey is forever. It's beyond this lifetime, right? Yeah. I think
That's beautiful advice. Thank you so much, Letta.
you're welcome.
We talked about your journey. We talked about your origin story. We talked about, does life imitate art? What your morning pages look like, your family routine. I want to talk about the struggles.
Yes.
Because a lot of this in this journey, we, especially with social media, it can be almost like, what's the word that I want to use? It can look a different way from the outside. You know, we talk about perspective all the time, and we see so many highs. You know, we name these things. You know, you're a playwright, you're a poet, you are a vice president. But we don't sometimes see the struggles that go behind the artist and the artist's work, especially in their family life. We don't always post that. Can you tell me or name a time where you were struggling as an artist and might have even thought, I might pivot or take a different direction? Or have you ever thought you were going to pivot or take another direction?
I have taken other directions into deep pits of despair.
Not despair.
Despair and just agony. The time that I can remember, or the time that I would like to share, I can remember them all, right? My brother was murdered, and I'm from a family of, like I said, first of all, like, families are wide ranging, and, like, you know, I don't want to put them in one category. So I will tell you, my family is amazing, and we are also a family full of addicts, right? And so my brother was murdered, and I had to go home, and I had sworn that I would never drink in front of the little ones, right? As had been done to us. And I am the oldest, and I had to bury my brother, and it was the hardest thing that I have ever done. So I did drink in front of young people, which meant that I had jacked up my own code of conduct. I felt really awful. I went on a long journey for a number of years and didn't come back for quite some time. I thought a lot, but I didn't write a lot, right? I made connections, but I didn't maintain any. I showed up, but I was hiding, and I lost myself. Luckily, I found myself, and I began writing again. And then some years later, my brother, who was murdered's son, was murdered. And so I had to make a decision about, if I was talking about this being a calling, right? And there's a thing, I think, when you cross the line of your calling and step into it, sometimes you know it, sometimes it's an accident and you found it, but at any rate, there's no turning back without consequence, right? So when I turned my back on my calling, when my brother died, I faced a lot of consequences that hurt, that were painful to myself, my family, and others. So when my nephew died, I had to make a decision, right? Do I continue to answer my calling through the pain? Do I remain authentic this time? Do I understand, right? Because a lot of times, artists and some humans in general, right? We like to curate something, but we forget that we're a part of that thing, right? And this time, I did not forget that I was a part of the mourning, right? And that my what I was learning as a being was important for me to share as an artist, because there are others of us, perhaps some of us in this room, that have been through the same type of thing, right? And that if I don't tell the truth, because it's my calling, then am I stopping somebody else from their truth, right? So that was the hardest time.
I am holding back tears because talking about grief is just really difficult sometimes. So thank you so much for sharing that, and I'm sorry.
Thank you.
My condolences. You talked about hiding yourself, and you had to find yourself. You know where I'm going with this. Grief is not linear.
No.
It's not a straight path. How did you find yourself or re-find yourself after that?
I spent a lot of time watching the sunrise. I spent a lot of time talking to my ancestors. I spent a lot of time quiet, right? Because I no longer trusted my voice. So I had to learn to listen to myself again. I'm from the same wonderful family, is bent on, my father was a janitor, and he was also a radio DJ and a bunch of other things. But the janitor part, right, he wore 3-piece suits to work. So what I'm from is, if you ask me how I am, then I'm fine, right? I'm perfectly good. How are you, right? So I had to stop and find my not fine and be fine with that. So today, my close friends ask me twice how I am, right? Because the first time, accidentally, on purpose, I will lie.
Yes.
Right? I had to understand. I found myself because people wouldn't let me go. Right? For whatever reason, part of who I am is I don't let people go, but I don't let them hold me. Right? And so, or I used to not let them hold me. And so what I have how I found myself is because they helped me find myself, right? Those people that had said that I had shown them magnificent love showed me magnificent love. And so when I was tired, they held me, right? Until I could rebirth,
I just want to take a second to just process what you just said for just 1 second. We know energy never dies.
That's right.
And the energy that you exude, Letta, is felt. There's this saying that aura is measured, and that the stronger your aura, the further it reaches out. And my God, having you on today, I know is going to reach so many more people, and everything that you've said for me has resonated in a special place. So thank you for sharing your journey, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
I just want to honor the fact of your transparency, your authenticity,
Thank you.
your connectedness,
Thank you.
your humbleness, because you do be lying when I be asking if you okay, and I got to ask you a second time.
But you know to ask me twice.
But I know to ask you
Right.
twice, and I think that's important to say, because sometimes it's not that you don't want to tell the truth. It's sometimes we just don't want to put that burden on other people. And that's the epitome of who you are. You are always trying to carry for other people and hold space for other people. So thank you
You're welcome.
for allowing us to hold you in this space
Thank
and
you.
sharing your journey with us.
Thank
I'm really excited for what's next. So can we please give a round of applause to Letta Neely, sharing her beautiful journey. We're not done with Letta yet. We're gonna take a quick break. Oh, she's gonna go up. We ain't gonna take a break, I lied, so stay seated. And I want to introduce Letta Neely as she performs two beautiful pieces for us about connectedness, legacy, and the beauty of art and using your voice. So please again, welcome Letta Neely to the stage.
Connections. There are connections between us, between the lines we've needed or been forced to draw with our blood across time, space, words, wounds. On these New York streets, I've seen cracks in the sidewalk and grass spurting through like revolution, holding fast to one creed only. Keep going, baby. Keep going, baby. Keep going. The crabgrass makes me think about where we, you and I, are going. It's a hard day when I realize I don't know any of my enemies personally. It's my friends I'm speaking to. Somehow we keep fighting the same battles over and over and over again, and arguing over who's got it worse, who's on the bottom of the totem pole. And I don't mean to proselytize, but we're killing each other, and the totem pole is still standing, and we're still using it, not knowing it's an ethnic slur. Me, I feel trapped in the middle of all this whirlpool. I feel like I'm on top of 3 mountains shooting at myself. I went to the March on Washington. I saw a lot of white men together talking about we will no longer sit on the back of the bus. And somebody had the nerve to say there are 1 million Rosa Parks here. And I thought it's not about white guilt or even gay pride, but make sure the truth is being told. Because the Rosas couldn't make it to the march. And as for the back of the bus, whomever thought it up probably flew first class. So I'm not talking about not aligning with the struggles of my black peoples, because I understand the connections all too well. Just remember to take Emmett Till, Atlanta child murders, smallpox blankets, Stonewall, the treatment of Chinese railroaders, and apple pie all together. Now every day in Harlem, I face a different kind of fear. Other black people screaming at me with their eyes because I'm in love with the way a woman is. One time a man said to my friend, he stood next to her and said, "I love you because you're black and you're my sister, but I think all gays and lesbians should die." One time a friend said to my sister in the presence of enemies, "You're not natural," then wanted to know why she felt unsafe. I want to know, does anyone fully comprehend this tapestry? Does anyone know how to sew all this together without mixing histories or trading truths for slogans? We are not all hanging from trees. We are not all neck deep in sand getting our heads kicked off into the sunset, though these things are being done as we speak. We are not all getting beat down at Stonewall or being dragged from our homes by our hair or being raped by husbands or friends or lovers. We are not all dying the same way, but we are all fighting to breathe, fighting to breathe. Now breathe. How y'all doing? This poem is called Forward Home. Imagine your body as the universe in concentrate. Think how you desecrate this place we call home. Divine spot, we keep it too hot or too cold most of the time. Most of the time, not knowing our temperature, we venture into a rat race, becoming uniformed soldiers about wars which we are uninformed. These formations we build are internal, our funeral pyres. We make our own deathbeds and not recognizing Phoenix when we lean, when we rise, we lean over and pee on our own ashes, crying, talking about next time will be better, bigger, different when we're in the next time right now. And still we forsake our loves, ourselves, become selfish, fold into inferno after inferno, seeking the finish line when we haven't even begun to crawl home. Just stand burning or stand stagnating, sticking to stinking, rotting flesh, waving it like a disparate banner. I have been here before, and it's a lonely place. Wearing skin that didn't fit, elocuting voices that were not mine, diction a perfect fit for someone else, not me, and you clapped sometimes. And I smiled, but I was not happy. I pushed me into the furthest crevices of my own unexplained, unexplored territory. I went in search of something sacred and ended up on a brick road when I am from cracked sidewalks and dirt. I ended up here before at this crossroads where Jesus and Legba do salsa and do line dances, sip Crown Royal and throw back tequila shots. I've been at the precipice of this cauldron where witches decide on brooms or bicycles or buses or hitchhiking, and I've sat too long and chose nothing except to prolong the waiting, to make the anxiety of stepping into pain or power go away. I know fear. She runs like the Tigris, like the Euphrates, like the Mississippi, from my aorta to my great-grandmother's, all the way back to my umbilical cord. I keep ending up here again. I died and was reborn. I die and am boring my way into life again and again and again from the other sides, and I know infinite sustenance. She runs like the Tigris, like the Euphrates, like the Mississippi, from my aorta to my great-grandmother's, all the way to my umbilical cord. And here, my friends, is where life begins. Imagine your body as the universe in concentrate. Think how you decorate this place you call home. Divine spot, we keep it holy, wholly free, able to roam in our own skin, our own dreams. Think how we magic the music in our muscles. How we exercise unwanted visitors. How we sit down to eat at tables, how we see our skyline, how we walk our shore, how we believe in beauty, which is before us, which is behind us, which is below us, which is above us, which is us, which is us, which is us, which is us. Imagine us free, and we are home in ourselves. Thank y'all.
Please, sorry, y'all. Please give another round of applause for Letta Neely. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, your story. Thank you for giving me your experience, us your experience. If you would love to connect with Letta, she will be here until 4 p.m., so please do so. But you can also connect with Letta and her amazing work at lettaneely.com, and that's Neely, Letta Neely. Thank you so much, Letta.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love you. You're amazing.